You ever thought, my work is good, but nobody's paying attention? Well, this is why. This is Context Part 2. Don't just make content, focus on context. You can't truly understand anything without context.
Battle Cat taught me that. You know, he used to do beats. I'd be like, man, what? He was like, I was thinking about if Nas bought some chicken on Crenshaw and Slauson and hung out with James Brown grandma, but then they all went to Paul McCartney house. That's what that would sound like. Battle Cat would say these things, and I'd be like, but he would build these things, and while he was doing it, he'd be like, see that low end? He'd be like, yeah, see that? That's like if James Jamerson walked in with no shoes. So I learned even from him to just build a thing, because I can't say, wait a minute, this ain't my vibe, I can't create my shit. And miss that bread at that time when I had no place to live. But I'm at Snoop's doing beats. I'm gonna say, where's the vibe? No, I'm just gonna clobber the situation the best way I can.
Humans don't judge what something is. They judge where it lives, what's it associated with, and the timing of it. You know, they did an experiment with the artist Joshua Bell. He is a violinist, and he plays violins that are super duper expensive.
This is a Guarneri del Gesù, and I also have a Stradivarius. I'm just trying out this $10 million violin. No one has been able to improve on this design, which is amazing. I mean,
is it truly a $10 million violin?
That's what they're asking for it. Yeah. So these are priceless. It's tech, and it's also a piece of art.
When was it made?
This was made in 1743. And my Stradivarius I also have, which is made in 1713. That's mine, which I own, and that's something very special.
He plays in front of thousands of people. They did an experiment where they had him play the same music in the subway station, and the people in the subway station ignored him. The only thing that changed was context. The wrong context can make something brilliant feel disposable. Virgil, the clothing designer, he used context a lot also. You take something really general and you repurpose it in a way where it makes people look for different meaning.
Things that exist and then putting them in a different context. So the diagonal lines of Off-White, for example. Universal language, it's everywhere already. It's almost like unbrandable. It's like you can't take ownership of something that's universal, but in a way you can. And that's what I've used as sort of my presiding sort of pattern. But the evolution, the 2.0 of that is my new affinity for obviously Helvetica, but also the quotes.
Putting quotes on shoes, on t-shirts, the t-shirt becomes the context. Jenny Holzer is the energy behind Virgil's idea to use text.
Content that they drive around is helpful to people somehow. You know, this material is an alert, at least. Some of the projections, again, I don't know that they need to be titled as art for the person who comes across them. I'm glad that they found a home in the art world, but mostly they're for people who are walking down the street at night and find them.
Instead of just writing and putting her text in a book tackling social issues, she took her text out of a book and projected it on buildings and things like that. It had a much bigger impact. You could be driving down the street and see what Jenny has to say. Sometimes context is created by rejecting the normal conventions in the industry. There's a particular scene in Top 5, the movie with Chris Rock, where you see Jerry Seinfeld in the strip club. If you take that same scene and you put a rapper in the strip club, it don't have the same impact. Everything you are in other people's minds, that comes with you through the scene. You have a history with Jerry Seinfeld, and you just don't imagine him in a strip club.
She's sticking it to me that she makes more money than me.
I'm sure she was just being nice, buying you the coffee.
No, not nice. She's sticking it to me.
You're crazy.
Sticking it to me, Jerry.
George.
Being in a strip club is a context that was created by that film. When I think of context, a lot of times I think of Wu-Tang. This is something my brother made, so I just want to show it off. In order to have a cult-like movement, you have to create your own world.
You know, and call us the Wu-Tang Clan. And it'd be like, we get the whole Staten Island, call it Chef.
That shit sounds like you was putting Avengers together.
You know what he said? He told me he wasn't with it. You know, or Noah, he's like, hey guys, I'm gonna build an ark. in the middle of the desert because it's gonna rain for 40 days and 40 nights. People are like, oh, it never rains more than 2 days here, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it ain't pragmatic.
It was for you to see.
Yeah, it's for you to see.
Yeah.
And you try to get others to see it.
The RZA created this world with a mixture of things. A little bit of kung fu, a little bit of comic books, a little bit of the culture of New York. It was visually different. It wasn't targeting the radio you have to almost accept or enter their world to be a part of and really understand.
That word free jazz, avant-garde, and even contemporary is just a way of trying to say now. We must hope that the music always has the quality of nowness. And there's certain music, I mean, like you can say there's folk, there's classic, and there's devotional music. But there's certain musicians that we've, in our lifetime, such as John Coltrane, where their music had all three qualities.
Someone has to have a vision. At least in this instance, Pharrell has the vision. You can see Pharrell in the studio explaining to Jay-Z the context of the song, the world that the song has to live in.
Your career right now, this is the end of Carlito's Way. You're just trying to get one more last job in before you get out. But I'm trying to tell you that I have the song, that I have the beat that describes that moment accurately.
You might think talent is everything, but talent without context gets ignored. If you were ever to come to Atlanta, you would have the opportunity to go to Martin Luther King's house, like the house he was born in, the house he was raised in. Of course, you can listen to his sermons anywhere, but it feels different to sit on a pew in a church where the people actually sat and listened to him. And in those four walls, create a context that give you an emotion that you can't get from listening on TV or, on YouTube. Beyoncé becoming Sasha Fierce is a change of context.
Many years ago, I named my alter ego Sasha, and it's something that stuck. So when I was trying to decide the title of my album, I realized it had two different sounds. One represented who I really am, and one sounded like my alter ego. So I decided to split it into two.
Beyoncé has a certain image, a certain way we look at her. She couldn't just make Sasha Fierce and not change anything about herself or the way we look at her. Sasha Fierce as a piece of content will be judged differently because Beyoncé changed the context of it by naming herself Sasha Fierce as a character. If she didn't change the context and become a character, it would have been judged very differently. It might have turned some fans off because they had a certain expectation of her. Context doesn't decorate content. It creates meaning. Graffiti is interesting.
What's the difference of doing it on trains and doing it on canvas?
You can't do graffiti on canvas unless you're doing it in an illegal context. Graffiti is illegal. It's a crime. I throw the word graffiti around because, of course, it sounds like, illegal, Robin Hood or whatever. But it's not about that for us,
You can ride on trains and it takes it to places that you might not be able to go. So you make your train your gallery. If you bring what you do on the train into a gallery, it might not have the same effect.
Well, basically what I'm doing with this show is what I call still lifes in space, Basically paintings that I wanted to make for a long time, but didn't have time to make them.
Context can change the meaning and change the value of something, or how a person even internalizes it. Virgil says that you can completely change the perception of something without changing the structure. And that's not designing, that's context engineering. The brain notices difference, not abundance. What's most present is least seen, but you need context to see content. Before you make better work, change the place your work lives in. If this is clicking with you, follow, subscribe, and implement context to your work. This is Brian from The King's Hand. Peace.
The appointed hand of the king.